Hello and welcome to another episode of the To Baldly Go podcast, and thank you for joining me on my mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to baldly go where so many have gone before. My name is Aaron, and I am watching through Star Trek for the first time, then discussing with my Trekkie friends. Tonight I am joined by my old friend Nate. This week, we will be discussing the next 3 episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation Season 1, The Battle, Hide and Q, and Haven. Now, make it so. Well, should we talk about some Star Trek?
Good.
We got three new episodes this week. I did just finish Haven about a half hour ago.
Okay. So it's fresh.
Just because of how time went. This time trying to get all these episodes in. But we'll start with episode 8 of Next Generation Season 1, The Battle, where beware Ferengi bearing gifts. Captain Picard receives the Stargazer, a ship considered lost that he once commanded. Yeah, this was this was an interesting episode. Yeah,
A little
I
different spin on the Ferengi in this episode,
Yeah,
right?
I made a note that they were far less cartoonish and annoying than in the last outpost.
Hmm.
There was still some of it, and there some of the stuff is just being a fan of capitalism myself. I think they're anti-cap, or the portrayal of them as the epitome of capitalism is a bit overdone. I get it because it is giving a big differentiation between the Ferengi and the Federation and all of that, but it's hard to take them seriously, even if they were less cartoonish this time, where they're
Yeah.
just like, oh, there was no profit. And so that kind of pulls me out of it a bit because it's so overt, maybe. Um,
I think that's an interesting discussion point, and the only reason why I say that is because for as long as I've been watching Star Trek, I never placed them as anti-capitalist. That I'm not saying
well,
you're
they
wrong. I'm
they
just
aren't.
saying
They
no,
aren't. I'm saying the
they are for a,
portrayal of them is
that's what I mean.
it's yeah, it's what is it, reductio ad absurdum or whatever. Like they're
Yep.
making them so absurd in that they're the I'm blanking on the first name, but Donaghy from 30 Rock,
Yep.
or things like that, where it's just so over the top, and they're the bad guys, so clearly that's the
Yeah,
messaging surrounding them.
it certainly, I think you're right, and they're trying to juxtapose the Federation, which has moved beyond money, or so they say, even though they still talk about it and all that stuff. And then, the society that's still not only like driven by m money or by, we'll just stick with money, but they're like that's the absolute focus of everything, and you're starting to see that more in them. I always like, again, I didn't necessarily always put it as a kind of an anti-capitalist trope so much as a, for me it's more like anti-greed of you can go too far, right?
Yeah, of
uh
course.
it, that's, I think it's just a different way of looking at things, right?
Yeah.
For me, they're a caricature of what happens when money becomes the focus of everything,
Uh,
versus a focus on the more important things, right?
yeah.
Money is important. Nobody's, not going to argue that point, but there is such a thing as being too obsessed with it, and
Right.
it drives people to do things that are unethical, immoral, all kinds of
Right.
stuff. right?
Yeah,
So
and I think and I'm sure I'm bringing my own worldview and everything into it,
that's it, my
but
problem, right?
I think I agree where the message seems to be that greed can go too far, but I think they would use greed and capitalism interchangeably in a description of what's going on. And this may also be that I don't even remember where I looked something up, but I saw something and it said the Ferengi were basically these like the epitome of the end game of capitalism. And yeah, I it's just ironic on a show that they made to make money, um
Yep.
and do all that. But so with those comments, I say that just to say it makes it kind of hard to take them seriously as adversaries,
Mhm.
because while they were far less cartoonish than a few episodes prior, they were still a little cartoonish. And I'm not just saying in terms of their appearance, but it was a lot easier to take them seriously without the jumping around and the just goofiness that was in the last outpost.
But we didn't get any laser whips, and it kind of made
That's
me.
true.
Um,
But
you
what was
still had some of the
they
man, right? I mean, when they came aboard the Enterprise, they still had kind of that like
yeah,
almost like primate-esque.
yep,
You see like a gorilla walking around an enclosure at the zoo with the
right.
shoulders kind of bob. I'm trying to, describe it for
It-
no one can see what I'm doing, but
yeah,
they kind of continue that here to a certain
yeah.
extent.
Yeah. And I mean they tied into some things from the first episode, where one of the first comments one of them made was women have their clothes on.
Yep.
Uh, just
Not
silly
no.
stuff like that. Yeah, I didn't think I ironically I'm giving like being critical of them, but all in all I didn't dislike the way the Ferengi were used this time.
He's a lot
And
better.
they're still the show is still developing. I mean,
Yes.
and I'm well aware of that, which I will give some grace. I mean, overall, I called this episode a 7. I thought
Mhm.
it was a good episode.
Yep.
It was interesting, seeing Picard's old ship and having some of that lore built out, and seeing that, and interesting how they had this like mind control, or what did they call it, a thought maker, this
Yeah.
forbidden device, and kind of how that all tied in. Yeah, it was an enjoyable episode for sure.
I generally look pretty favorably on this episode. I think it is one of the stronger ones that we've watched to date.
I
Again,
agree.
because it's world building, it's background. Like you get to
Hmm.
kind of see where Picard came from, right?
Hmm.
And that ultimately influences who he is.
Yeah.
Um, I did sort of laugh at one point is did Picard abandon ship again too early? Like, did he give up? Like, I don't know if you caught that towards the end as they were kind of breaking down what actually happened. But it made me kind of laugh because apparently that's a theme that I ne missed until you have brought it up over the series of over episodes. Um,
Yeah.
but I also gave it a 7. I generally really like this episode.
Yeah.
Um, I am, also being a ship nerd, right? I mean, this is a class of ship we've never seen before.
Yeah.
And it certainly has those callbacks to, the refit Enterprise with the nacelles, but there's 4 of them and they're tipped on their side and that kind of
Hmm.
thing. And the saucer that's reminiscent of that, but not exactly the same. So you kind of get that feel of where things came from, right?
Yeah.
So I, yeah, I generally just I like this episode. I think the story is really interesting. Um, I thought, was it this one or the next one? There doesn't see, or at least I don't remember there being kind of a B plot for this story.
Yeah, I
Very
was
straightforward, a very simple.
I've been making some more notes about like the A and B plots as they come in because they are doing that. But yeah, I don't recall there being much of one. Well, I mean, either that or they tied them together really well and really quickly. I mean, there was first the because the Stargazer didn't come in until a bit later in the
Yep.
episode. It was early on, hey, there's a Ferengi ship there, and all they said was stand by Enterprise. So there was that. It was kind of the Ferengi ship, and then this other ship came in, and so that kind of was just yeah, how that may have been the B plot that got kind of pulled in.
Could be.
Um, but they did a much better job of kind of tying those plots together, and that's I think a theme that I've been making note of over at least this week's episodes, that they do have those kind of A and B plots that do come together, or they'll bring something in partway through, and it's just like, okay, what the hell is this?
Like, was the
But
episode too short and you needed to add content somewhere? Like,
and I will say we'll talk about that more, I think, in Haven,
yep.
where I literally wrote down, what does this have to do with anything? And then like 2 minutes later, well, there's this, there's this, there's this. So yeah, but I think they're just kind of getting. I mean, we're about a third of the way through season one now, and I think they are kind of figuring out kind of how this crew, this cast
Yep.
works and how they can tell the stories in 1987 compared to the late 60s. And it is a different way of storytelling. I mean, I kind of broke down last week how many more words they're getting into these shorter episodes, and how much more dialogue they're they've really sharpened, and
Yep.
it feels less like a stage play where much of the original series really felt like we were watching a play just on the screen. And there's bits of that in next gen so far, but overall I think it's just they've gotten sharper at storytelling. The medium has improved. I mean, it's not just advancement in Star Trek, it's advancement in all of TV at this point over the late 60s. So,
It's
um,
maturity, right?
right,
Theoretically, most things get better over time.
right. Although the irony is, when I was watching Haven today, Devin walked in and she was like, "That looks terrible." I was like,
Amazing.
"Well, this show is almost 40 years old." She was just like, "That's the worst CGI ever." It was when they were on the desert in the desert
Oh
on the
yeah.
holodeck.
Yeah. Well, it's that
But
reused set that they have all the
I,
time, right? There's
I know,
rocks everywhere, and then they just change the color of the
change the
lighting in the
background.
background.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
Like,
um, yeah, I yeah, I thought there was a lot to like though in the battle. It was, yeah, it was kind of interesting to hear like the Picard maneuver. So I
I
mean,
was going to ask you about that. I want to
like
hear your thoughts about that.
I think it's interesting, and yeah, the idea that they can essentially use high speed warp and appear like they're in two places at once. Um, it like the idea of it makes sense.
Yep.
Practically, I don't think, obviously it really doesn't, but and then thinking through the amount, like the distances they'd have to be dealing with to do something like that. It's not it's not close proximity of things. They're um like, I guess that's all relative. But
Yeah.
yeah, I thought it was really a an interesting thing, and almost the first time they've addressed some of the things about traveling faster than light. I mean, I brought that up before. It's like if they are going at something faster than warp speed or faster than light, they're going to hit it before they even see it coming.
Yep.
Um, because they would get there before
It's
the
light. Yeah.
visibility. So it was kind of cool to hear them, at least to some extent, break that down.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting concept. And I had never spent any time kind of thinking critically about it. I just sort of took it at face value for years, decades even, of like, yeah, sure, they jump to warp, they move faster than light, so therefore when they drop out of warp, that light gets to the Ferengi ship, or in this case the Enterprise, before the other light shows that they've moved, so they effectively appear in two places at once. And then you start to break down like relative distances,
Hmm.
and they kind of show where the Stargazer is and then where it ends up, and obviously close enough that they can kind of grab it with a tractor beam before it gets too much closer to the Enterprise. And then my brain starts going, what does that acceleration curve look like? Because they
Right.
literally are going from basically dead stop to warp 9 very quickly
To
and move.
to a dead stop and then to like
Yeah,
reverse warp 9
yeah.
to then
So
get the hell out
dead
of
stop
there.
to warp 9 to dead stop in, even if you measure that in kilometers, right? That's a wild acceleration curve.
Yeah.
Uh, and so I think there is, you know, to my somewhat uneducated mind around physics, I can understand why that would theoretically work,
Yeah.
but also like, man, the technology they have to keep that ship from breaking apart under the forces that it feels
Yeah.
when it does that, and then I started to,
And
I had
so
made some,
there is some suspension of disbelief just
for
because
sure.
we are buying into that they can do something that, as far as we know, is physically impossible.
Yeah.
So there are other physical impossibilities that
Yeah.
tie into that.
Let's see if I can find something real quick. But
Yeah.
I did have, I still have it. So I don't think I have it anymore. So at one point I had the next generation technical manual. And so
Nice.
and I might
Why
need to
would you
buy.
get rid of that?
I have no idea. I got rid of a bunch of books years ago, and I thought I had kept that one. I have the DS9 tech manual. Uh,
I'm
um,
sure we'll get a lot of a lot of use of that.
Ellie and Katie got that for me for Father's Day or Christmas or something one year. They bought it on eBay, but
That's
it
awesome.
talks a lot about like, terms we haven't necessarily heard yet of like inertial dampeners and structural integrity fields and all this,
Hmm.
wavy technology that explains how they can even jump from a standstill to high warp in a reasonable amount of time, and people aren't smears on the back of the wall,
Right.
right? So some of that is explainable. The other thing that I think sort of bugged me, and then I thought about it more, was they were worried about him using the Picard maneuver and not knowing like where to lock on to him, which, where were
Yeah.
you getting the tractor beam? And my knee-jerk reaction was the closer one. Like, duh. Um, and then when they did it, they actually showed the Stargazer kind of moving up to the side. And to me, then all of a sudden it clicked of like, yeah, it's coming towards you, but you're trying to, lock a tractor beam or fire a weapon at a finite area, and
Hmm.
you don't necessarily know what vector that ship is going to move,
Right.
right? So a small window of time when they drop out of warp to target and lock on. And
Yeah.
so that's where I was able to kind of resuspend my disbelief a little bit.
Hmm.
But I kind of went down a rabbit hole for a good 15, 20 minutes, like processing, like, man, maybe this doesn't make as much sense as I think it does. And then I found an explanation that I could live with.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I didn't. even go that deep. I just made note of what the Picard maneuver was, and I'll be honest, some of the notes I took on this episode were like, "All right, I'm gonna have this answer at the ready when Abby asks us trivia."
Yeah.
Um, but like I had Hero of Maxia ready to go, Picard maneuver, the Zendi Stabu star system. I was
Been
ready,
doing the
man.
same thing. Like I'm writing down planet
Although,
name.
although it, so another thing, it kind of bothers me, is they called it I think they called it the Zendi Stabu solar star system. Now,
Okay.
now isn't ours called the solar system because they call the sun Sol?
Yep.
So the solar system is just the sun,
Yep.
not other stars.
Yep. I didn't
So
catch that, but yes.
So, yeah, it's the Alpha Centauri solar system. No, it's the Alpha Centauri system, right?
Yeah. And
So
I would accept star system, right?
star
I mean,
system, yes, star
okay.
system. My issue was solar system, and I think they said Zendi Stabu solar star system. I need to look, but I deliberately did not write solar in my notes.
Interesting. Oh, so yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of. I mean, there were some quotes in there that I liked a lot.
Oh, Zendi Sabu. Oh, yeah, they said Zendi Sabu star system. So they did not say that, but I think I heard them say solar at another point. I guess not in this episode, searching the transcript. So disregard everything I just said.
No worries. Um,
I'll find it and I'll
just
find
cut it
what
all
episode
out.
it is, and then I'll bitch about it then.
There you go. Just take that entire clip and move it over there.
Oh no, I'll
Um,
just keep it right here.
I love the line.
Yes,
Um,
I'm sorry. It was in Hide and Q. We were fortunately close to the Sigma 3 solar system.
there it is.
Yep. So, all right, back to the battle.
I love the line in there. Of Picard like being on the Stargazer after so many years and presuming it's been destroyed.
hmm
And at one point he goes like going back home, like going back to those is sorry, let's try that again because I wrote it down wrong. Going back to the house you grew up in, but no one's home. Phantoms of the past.
hmm
Um, and I think that's such a great quote because I don't know. We think a lot about, you know, we as human beings we have this predilection towards nostalgia, right? Of remembering, how things were. And
hmm
sometimes with rose-colored glasses of, remembering them better than, you know, how they actually were.
Right.
And a quote that rolls through my head fairly often when I start to get kind of that nostalgic feeling is you can't go home again.
Hmm.
And so here you have kind of like this manifestation of Picard who's back on this ship and realizing that he's gone so far beyond this now, and he's back, and it feels strange and it feels nostalgic, but it's not the same, right?
Yeah.
You can't go home again. Like this was his home for so long, but it's not anymore. So
Yeah.
I don't know, that one really hit me for whatever reason. Um, so, but I
Yeah.
believe the etymology of nostalgia is painful remembrance, is how
Hmm.
that word breaks down.
That's
I don't,
interesting.
but actually, I might see if I can figure out where that came from. But I remember that being yeah, it comes from so it's Greek. Nostos means return, and algos means pain.
Hmm.
So a painful return.
Hmm.
Acute homesickness is another translation of it.
Yeah. Hmm. Interesting. Say, usually you think of nostalgia as something positive,
Yeah, but do
but
you
is
ever
it
get
painful because you're
nostalgia?
not, it's
Yeah.
not real?
So the way I always like think of it is you get that nostalgic feeling and that remembrance, and do you ever feel that like tightness in your chest?
Yeah,
That
I guess.
so it's kind of like that's kind of like the pain, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
a feeling of pleasure and also slight sadness when you think about things that happened in the past.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I just for whatever reason that is a thing that resonates with me. So
Yeah.
every time I hear stuff like that, I just kind of click into it.
Yeah.
Um, and then
Couple, no,
I
go ahead.
was gonna say a couple of the like Picard being kind of snippy. I mean, obviously he feels like crap for most of this episode.
Hmm.
Um, and Crusher goes, "What are you doing here? I thought I was captain of this starship." "Oh, thank you for the confirmation, Doctor." I laughed at that.
Yeah. Um, yeah, a couple other thoughts I had on this. I I'm seeing a trend here, and I'll have more on this later too, but really good use of music. In the original series, I feel like they had about 6 tracks that they used for the entire series. And in this one, I don't, it's been a day since I watched it, so I don't remember exactly what the music was, but I made a note that it was good use of music when Picard transported to the Stargazer. There was just something about it worked.
Yep.
And it wasn't just, oh, we've heard this same track over and over again.
Yeah.
Um,
That predictive like few bars of
yeah.
music every time you know that
Ding,
they're about to walk into
ding,
danger
ding.
or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I like that. I like the use of the music. Now, I'll have more on this particularly during Haven. It can quickly then turn to very, very late 1980s synthesizer, which is less awesome,
Oh,
but still some really solid use of music in the series so far, which I think adds to it. It adds to the quality. It adds to just the
mhm.
tone and the feel. Um, Again, just that maturity that comes from 20 more years of making television, and really just getting better at the craft.
Yep.
Um, and then something that it was reminiscent of the original series, but I couldn't pinpoint what episode it maybe was, but I feel like it came up at one point or another. Um, the crew basically refused to believe that log entry was real. They were just
Hmm.
like, yeah, that sounds like your voice, but that's not you.
Yep.
So the crew, the entire crew was defending Picard completely.
Yep.
Um, and
And
com
looking for
they
ways to
believed him without
invalidate.
question. And yeah,
Yep.
they were looking to defend him, not just not go on the offensive.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I thought that was good. And I felt like that happened maybe during at some point in the original series, but I can't remember when or what the exact details were. But yeah, I enjoyed that piece of it too. I thought that was good. Um, yeah, I don't have a whole lot more on this one. We can take a look at what the IMDb trivia
I was looking
is.
at too. I think one of my favorite things about this episode, trivia wise, is um that the Stargazer is originally going to be a Constitution class ship
Hmm,
along the lines of the original Enterprise.
yeah.
And they decided to change that and rename it like Constellation class. And they're they did that after. LeVar Burton had already filmed some of his lines, so they had to
Hmm.
dub over him saying Constitution class with
Hmm.
Constellation class. So if you look closely enough, you can tell,
Hmm.
you can lips and see that's not what he's saying. So
Yeah, I will say I think I pick up on like just knowing some background of how shows are made and how they do stuff when they come in to basically do voiceover
mhm.
on it. I can pick up occasionally when that might be where it's like that sound quality doesn't quite
Yeah,
fit the scene.
changed.
Um, it's not terrible, but it is something that I kind of geek out about stuff like that too. So it's just like, oh yeah, kind of understanding how the show works, not just, and how shows work in general. And then when you realize, like, oh yeah, if they're doing it here, oh yeah, every show does this.
Yeah,
Um, and for me, at least, that doesn't really take me out of it. But there have been scenes in various episodes where I've had that feeling of like, oh yeah, this was all like dubbed over
right.
after. But I mean, that's honestly part of the actor's job is to do that, whether it's dubbing over Constellation or Constitution with Constellation. But yeah, it's I find that stuff kind of fun.
Yeah, I love it too. What other
Yeah.
trip is of interest do you see?
Um, not a ton. I mean, they've got bits of information, but nothing jumping out too crazy. Yeah.
Uh,
Um, Oh, the final scene takes place on the Stargazer Bridge, making this the first episode which does not end with a scene on board the Enterprise. I didn't even notice that.
I didn't notice that either. I suppose I think the last line or close to last line I have it written down as let the dead rest and let the past remain the past,
Yeah.
which was like a line they probably said on the Stargazer. So
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't really have too much more on this one. I thought it was a good episode. It was
yeah,
yeah, it was just solid. Nothing particularly negative about it. It was just yeah, pretty good. Not great, but still good, perfectly enjoyable.
agreed.
So,
Should we should we
we
move
can
on to
move on to episode 9, Hide and Q, where the Enterprise encounters Q again and he tempts Riker by endowing him with the powers of the Q. Um, so something here, they didn't bring back who was the first character they brought back in the original series?
is it Harvey Mudd?
It was.
See, I
And
got a trip.
he
Right, Navi's not
and
even there.
he may have been the only character that they brought back.
I think so. Yes.
I mean, not counting the movies, because I mean, you've got Sarek in the show in one episode,
Yeah.
I think. Is he only in one episode?
He's only in one episode, and then he's in the
Then in
movies.
the animated series and the
Oh
movies,
yeah, he
but
is in the
in the
animated.
original
Uh,
series, what?
Mudd's also in the animated series,
Right.
so
But in the original series, I think Mudd was the only character that came back.
mhm.
And they really didn't have, it wasn't, I could be mistaken, but I don't think it was until very late in season 3 that they even really had callbacks to events to specific events in other episodes,
They were very much contained from week to week.
which is I thinking more about this episode and some of those features to it. I think I have more thoughts to get to. Yeah, I thought this was another good episode. I gave this one a 7 as well. Um, yeah, I thought it was good interactions between the crew, uh, good storytelling, and just overall a solid episode.
Yep.
Um, yeah,
Again,
I
there's a B plot here, kind of. I
yeah.
would maybe call it a C plot, but it's a pretty standalone story. I mean, they're driving urgency because they have to get to this outpost, and I guess they
Yeah,
do eventually get there as part of the episode, but it still feels a little disjointed, and
yeah,
they kind of bring it back together to prove a point in some ways with Riker, but other than that, it's sort of a throwaway storyline in there.
yeah. I mean, I the Q character is kind of weird.
Yeah,
Um, like I mean, I get now that throwbacks to 18th century French generals is not something that's very un-Star Trek, which before watching the original series, I never would have guessed.
sure.
Um, and then we had an episode of 1920s gangsters, so I know nothing. But yeah, the Q character is just it's kind of odd. It's mysterious, and yeah, I don't know. I don't dislike it. But it's just kind of an odd thing.
Yeah, I mean,
Um, and like they're yeah, I do like though how they're using Q to explore human nature, really.
mhm,
And using Q as this means to put these characters into these situations and say like, hey, what would a regular person do here? Even
right.
though none of these people are quite regular people, but I mean, we're
Yeah,
supposed to relate with them in some degree, to some
sure.
degree. So I like that the way they're using that character. And I mean, yeah, they brought a character back already, and we're in the ninth episode.
Yep.
So that's a big change. And having direct callbacks to Farpoint. I mean, they mentioned Farpoint
This,
probably four times,
yep.
maybe more. But so I like that. And it I think it helps to feel more character development already than we saw maybe through the entire original series
Mhm.
because there weren't connections from one episode to the next. I mean, I made the comments early on that it's House in space, but House had more character development in each episode than most of the original series overall. There was very little development that connected from any one episode to another.
And the thing about shows like House is, even though every episode is very much self-contained and you can kind of drop into any of them and watch it and be entertained, there are still storylines that right underneath that
Yep.
connect together,
which
right?
which really wasn't there that much in the original series, but I'm seeing they're starting that here, and I
Mhm.
think that's a good thing. I mean, Next Gen so far at least is still very much an episodic thing.
Yep.
It's not serialized. It's not like if you miss Hide and Q, you can watch Haven and you didn't miss anything.
Yep.
Um, but still there are those connections. There's references to Wesley being an acting ensign.
Yep.
That's a callback to a couple episodes prior where he was given that basically field promotion or command like rank. Um, so I like the way they're doing that and comparing that to the original series where in the original series I've found it online. They had like basically the Star Trek writer's guide that gave kind of a rundown of here are these characters and kind of what their motivations are. But there it was just kind of a stat like I think over time it did change as they got more detailed, but the characters were fairly static. They weren't overly dynamic over the course of the series. And maybe I know I'm sure there was some development. There were things that changed.
I think there
and
was
then
a
they really
lot more
changed
development for the
into the
core
movies.
than there were with the ancillary cast,
Right.
right?
But I mean, yeah, it's like just that comparison between next gen and the original series. I like that they're already bringing back characters because that's something that there was almost like, how do I say it? Glad I can cut all these dead dead silences out.
The
Um,
joy of editing.
yeah, but it was like even with some of the villains in the original series, the Klingons showed up like once or twice a season, if that. I
Yeah.
mean, in Star Trek lore, I feel like the Klingons are a big deal. And I was kind of surprised at how little they were in the original series. Now, yeah, I like that they're already tying next gen to other next gen episodes, and they've tied it back to the original series. I think that just adds to the maybe the aura of it.
Yep.
Just the overall experience. It's less like just it's not 80 random episodes
Yeah.
that just have the same title and same character names. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, I mean, I'm sure whenever I eventually rewatch stuff from the original series, I will see like I'll go back and see those early episodes and just be like, oh wow, things are way different. But um, yeah, it doesn't. I just the direct connections, I think is a positive, at least with something that worked with this episode.
Mhm. I agree. I think one of the one of the upsides to having a adversary to having an adversary like Q come back is assuming you've watched Encounter at Farpoint, he's already an established character with established bounds and personality and all that. So it lets you kind of jump into the telling of the story a whole lot faster. You
Hmm.
don't need back. Like we've seen this guy, we know that he's this all-powerful being. He's here to mess with them, and do all these different things. And that's just a given. The second he shows up on the bridge, like, okay, this is what we're doing. And so you immediately have more time to kind of flesh out the rest of the story,
Hmm.
which is what they did, right? I mean, it's an interesting, kind of compelling argument of I wrote it down earlier in the episode, and I'm not sure if it's because I subconsciously remembered that it was coming, or if I just, was a little ahead of the episode. I mean, it's glaringly obvious, but the concept of absolute power corrupts absolutely, right?
Hmm.
Very, very much the theme of this,
Yep.
right? To the point where that's literally what they say about three-quarters of the way through.
Right.
But I think you would have a lot less time to explore that theme if it was a different adversary that showed up to do this. Like
Hmm.
some brand new character that nobody seen or heard of before, that now you have to kind of establish that backstory and then move forward. I think that is one of the major things that makes this much more successful of an
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. I gave it a 7 as well. Um, I somehow remember this episode coming much later in the series, and I don't know why. Um, I think I'm confusing it with other plot lines that kind of blur together
Hmm.
eventually. I didn't remember that this is the season 1 episode, much less an episode 10. Um,
Yeah.
so we're very far into this, and kind of having these. Um, I also kind of wondered to a certain extent. I have to go back and look because I have a record of some of these somewhere that I found. This felt a little like a bottle episode to me as
Hmm.
well. Most of the action takes place either on the bridge or on the planet, which is just that reuse soundstage that we see
Yep.
all the time. With one additional kind of scene where they're at that outpost, really. But it was kind of bounced between those two sets, and you don't see a whole lot else. And so I wondered if this was kind of um a lower budget episode,
Hmm.
um focusing more on the story. Frankly, the bottle episodes can be a lot of fun
Yeah.
because they're so contained. It feels more like a stage play, right?
Yep.
So it just that's what it felt like to me. I don't
Yeah.
know if it was, but
Yeah.
uh
Now, I will say the way this one ended, if I hadn't heard the rest of you talk about Q being this like known thing, I am going to make I'm going to assume that Q comes back, even though at the end it seems like he's gone.
yep.
Like he lost, now he's dead or whatever it is, he's nothing, essentially. So I'm pretty sure that's not the case because it sounds like Q is a bigger deal than just 2 episodes early in the series. So I'm interested to see where that goes. But yeah, I think it'll be cool to see how he comes back. So I'd been writing some notes as I was watching this one, and then kind of stopped taking notes, and then just kind of jotted something down this morning, basically saying I finished it last night. Can't recall a ton of the details, but it was I had an overall positive feeling about the episode. Um, it really captured my attention. Both of these episodes we've discussed so far really did capture my attention. I wasn't reaching for my phone. I wasn't looking to do something else. I wasn't thinking like, "Oh God, when is this going to be over?" I was just thoroughly enjoying watching them. Even though I didn't think either of the episodes was great, it wasn't something that was like mind-blowing, but they were both just solid, good episodes. Which is then how I
I also,
rated both of them.
I also like this episode as kind of a showcase of Patrick Stewart's Shakespearean abilities, right?
Hmm.
Because there's obviously that scene in his ready room where Q's trying to go toe to toe with him on
Yeah,
some of the, adapting some of the language a little bit, all the galaxies a stage instead of all the worlds. Um, but it leads to a line from Picard that I loved a lot, which I think he said is from Hamlet. I won't claim to be a Shakespeare genius by any stretch of the imagination,
hmm
but he goes, "It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing." Which is kind of a great insult
hmm
to right in Key's lap of
Yeah,
like you're here, you're just fucking shit up. But it's meaningless. It doesn't mean anything. Like you're
yeah,
just here for your own amusement.
yeah,
Um, so yeah,
yeah. I I liked the human compulsion to learn and explore. I thought that was
good one too.
a good line. Um, and yeah, it was yeah, I can see what Abby is talking about and how this was a Riker episode for a lot of it because he was the one who was given those powers. And really it's my final note that I jotted down this morning after watching it last night was that this is still definitely an ensemble show.
For
Like
sure.
it's not the ensemble is the focus, not side characters with the main three. And I mean the main three worked really well in the original series.
Mhm.
And I don't know how well it would have worked if they tried to focus on the entire ensemble.
Yep.
Um, and there were those moments that were just like, hey, this was a little more of a Sulu Chekhov episode, and those worked, and
Yeah.
they were good as a change of pace. But this one is definitely focused on. I mean, the crew is bigger. I mean, they had what the 7 main cast in the original series, and this already has what like 9 or 10 that are main cast.
They
main
have
crew.
nine main cast.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's already two more, and they've got shorter episodes, but are really kind of hitting all of them. I would say we haven't seen too much of Worf, really, to this point.
Yep.
But, I mean, still, it's just a big crew, and it, Picard definitely isn't in the Kirk role where he's taking a ton of the screen time, but I mean, he
Yep.
owns it when he does. Um, and yeah, all the characters are already like you feel they're already getting decently developed, and like the actors know they know their characters, or they're getting to know their characters even better, and it shows.
Well, for this one, like, man, Jonathan Frakes
He's
is a
awesome.
hell of an actor.
Yeah.
And I think this episode really showcases, like, in the other episodes, he's very confident but not cocky. Like, it's
Hmm.
there's a difference there, right? There's certainly an air of of gentleness, of compassion, of he's very well-rounded in that regard,
Hmm.
right? He's still confident and competent and um will kind of stand up for what's right and isn't afraid to say things if he needs to and that kind of thing. And then you juxtapose that with this episode where he starts earlier on kind of, still the same old Riker, despite the fact he's got all these
Hmm.
powers. And then by the end of the episode, like he's full tilted into that, not evil, but that absolute power corrupts absolutely, right?
And
His best intentions, but
the Gary was it Gary Mitchell or whatever
yeah,
in Where No Man Is Gone Before.
yep.
Um, it just grows, and then
And I
yeah.
think it's interesting. Is it okay? We're just gonna keep using references to like other things. It's like
Yeah.
Two-Face from Dark Knight, right?
Hmm.
Either you die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Hmm.
You give somebody that kind of power, and are they gonna stay good forever, or will they continue to make compromises that just slide you into something else?
Yeah.
And I think they were trying to show that that's kind of where Riker was headed, despite good intentions.
Hmm.
And then, at the end, it was the crew saying, "I want your gifts." Like this,
So about that,
yeah. I may have been leading you there anyway. So,
yeah. But about that and about the crew doing that. So Wesley took the gift and then rejected it after the fact.
yep.
But I mean, he's a kid. Kids are dumb.
But Jordy
Do
took the gift.
they're gonna do it. Geordi did take it, and then Data didn't.
Yep.
The android didn't. If Data hadn't done that,
Yeah.
would anyone else have stopped it?
It's a great question, and I don't know. However, you could see that this was Picard's big bet,
Mm-hmm.
right? He encouraged it
Mm-hmm.
because he was playing the long game of this not quite turning out the way
Q
anyone.
anticipated.
Yeah. Um, and so, kind of a brilliant move on his part to just let it happen, knowing that they would start to reject it, but still a
Mm-hmm.
huge gamble. And
Mm-hmm.
you're right. If Data had been like, yeah, this is what I've always wanted, would the dominoes have kept falling?
Yeah.
I don't know. Hard to
Yeah.
tell.
Yeah. And maybe that's again, so maybe Data is not human. I mean, I'm sure that becomes a discussion, and I've seen there's a book out. I've got it written down on my list of eventually read. Um, apparently when it first was released, it's called The Metaphysics of Star Trek. But
Yep. I've
the
read
the current
it.
the current name of the book is Data Human? And it kind of presumably has a breakdown of kind of that discussion. But so I mean, if Data's biggest desire is to be human, but
So let's break down
taking
that.
by not taking that greatest desire, does that show how he's not human?
Right.
I mean, you'll never
There is a
know.
lot of debate that
Yeah.
could happen because of this, right?
Yep.
So, we talk about ensemble casts and giving people time and developing characters, and it's more than just the top three. Did you notice who wasn't in this episode?
Troy.
Troy.
Hmm.
Nowhere to be found.
Well, they dropped her off at Starbase G6 near the
Yep.
Sigma 3 solar system. And this is where I wrote in my notes, I wrote Sigma 3 system
Yeah. I mean,
in protest.
you can look up solar system now and see what it
Watch,
actually
I'm just
says.
completely wrong.
Let's look it up. I don't know. Maybe you're right. It's well, so here it says that the solar system is the gravitationally bound system of the sun and the objects that orbit it. So not a sun, the sun.
Hmm.
I don't know that that
Yeah.
answers anything, but
A star system is a group of planets, meteors, or other objects that orbit a large star. While there are many star systems, including at least 200 billion other stars in our galaxy, there's only one solar system. That's because our sun is known by its Latin name, Sol.
so you're spot on, right? And
Yeah.
every definition I see says the sun, not a sun, which
Yep.
I think valid.
God, I'm a
Anyway,
nerd.
we need both. I just broke down the etymology of nostalgia like 15 minutes ago.
And yeah, and I broke down without looking it up, I broke down the etymology of solar system.
Yeah.
Oh God,
This is fun, right?
that's why we watch Star Trek and do a podcast about it, right?
100%. Absolutely.
So,
I
um,
don't know.
yeah, I thought like we said, Jonathan Frakes, Riker was awesome in this episode. He was good, showing a lot of range because I mean, a lot of the time he can be just kind of this like fairly stoic, I guess. I don't want to say static character because he's not. He's clearly
Right,
got a lot of depth to him, but he's very much a controlled character.
right.
And I suppose he was controlled in this episode too. Um, he just allowed that scope to increase. But yeah, I thought just yeah, everything in this episode, there's just an overall positive feeling about it. It was just a good episode.
It's a really good episode. I
Yeah.
enjoyed a lot. I'm
And
going for
now
the
I'll probably cut this out because it won't matter to anybody else. Q reminds me of Bean. I don't know if it's just kind of his look and his hair.
He's a
He
tall guy.
the way
Yeah,
he talks a little bit. I just
I could
I
see
keep
that.
seeing I keep seeing it. Well, here's how I get there. I also think he looks a little bit like Phil Hellmuth,
Okay.
and then I just see
That's a
Bean
natural extension. Yeah,
a little bit of Bean in there.
right. Okay. I had not put that together, but I'd buy that. Okay. I like that.
Now, now, if only there will be a point in the series where Q says to Picard and the crew, "You guys are asses." Then we'll know for sure.
That's one of my favorite
Um,
memories of all time, by the way.
right? Oh man. Um,
Just Scott pulling that piece of paper out of his folding
yep.
it is oh that will live rent free in my head, hopefully for the rest of my
So
life.
so good. Um, yeah, back to the episode. I don't think I have that much more to say. Like I said, I didn't take too many notes on the details of it. It was just kind of that overall feeling about the episode. It was just good. It's interesting seeing Q like I don't know, Q I don't quite understand Q yet because
Mhm.
he's kind of it's like he's trying to experiment on them and see, okay, if I throw you in this situation, what are you gonna do? Like he's just trying to have some fun with it because he's bored.
Right.
Um, but at the same time, he's setting up rules for these games. But I don't recall him really explaining what the rules were, and then all of a sudden threw Tasha in the penalty box.
Well,
And was
I think
but then
that's the point.
the threat there was then like if one of you gets put in the penalty box, where's she gonna go?
Yeah.
And but then he liked something enough to say, oh, your penalty is over.
Yeah.
Um,
But I think that's the point of Q
yeah,
is he's a very whimsical,
yeah.
like whatever he feels like, that's the rule. Like there nothing is
There are
defined.
rules, but they're fluid and yeah,
Well, when you're effectively judge, jury, and executioner,
yep.
whatever you want, right?
Yeah. He's whose line is it anyway, where the games are made up and the points don't matter.
Exactly. So it's funny you bring up the penalty box thing because there was a thing in here that I'd never noticed before that kind of bugged me because it felt out of place. But Tasha gets sent to the penalty box.
Hmm.
She ends up back on the bridge with Picard. She has kind of a breakdown, which is not, I guess, atypical for Tasha, as we've seen in these early episodes.
Hmm.
And then there was like this weird moment where she and Picard were like flirting with each other. And she's saying if he wasn't the captain, maybe things would be different. And like, it's maybe 5 or 10 seconds of dialogue in that was really weird and did not kind of fit.
Hmm.
I don't know if there was a plan at some point to like connect those two or what. But did you
Yeah.
catch that at all?
I don't know. There were some parts around there that did I don't know the specifics, but did just kind of feel weird. And I think it was around that penalty box
Yeah.
time where yeah, things just felt kind of goofy. Um, but again, I just kind of attributed that to Q seems kind of just odd. Um, but yeah, like you said, kind of this whimsical
Yeah.
thing. Um, yeah.
I don't know. I just that one was I'd never caught that little bit of dialogue before. And I just thought it was so weird and so out of place with everything else. And I didn't get it. So I don't know.
Yeah.
That's all I have other than like the last couple of lines of Riker in Picard. I love Picard so much. Talk about calling it like it is. Riker goes, I feel
Yeah.
like such an idiot. And Picard goes, quite right. So you should.
Yeah.
Just
Uh,
like, just call it. It's all good.
yeah.
How about trivia?
Um, so we talked about how Troy is not in this episode. It says here the revised final draft screenplay was submitted only 3 days prior to filming. Uh, and that featured Troy, which suggests that she may have just been like suddenly unavailable for some reason. And her lines were eventually either cut from the episode or transferred to other characters, mostly Tasha. Um, and Picard's entry explaining her absence was written for the beginning to kind of cover that. Although it also says here the removal of the character Deanna Troy from this episode, along with three other episodes, made Marina Sirtis believe at the time she was about to be cut from the show.
Well, when it's an ensemble cast and suddenly you're not in
Hmm.
4 episodes in the first season,
Yep.
yeah, maybe.
So, um, yeah.
There's apparently a novel, so
Hmm.
maybe you can find this at the used bookstore, called Q&A. Uh,
Q&A. All right, I'll
that
find that one.
establishes that Q is sent by the Continuum to give Picard the power of the Q as a test of humanity's ability to save the universe eventually. But Q disregarded their directive and gave it to Riker.
Hmm. Yeah.
Interesting.
Hmm.
I think that's what people would predict based on Encounter at Farpoint. So to give it to Riker instead is a more fun twist.
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, not a whole lot
I don't have a whole lot else either.
else.
For me, that is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good. That-
Yeah.
I did notice the force field was like a shot cut straight from Encounter at Farpoint.
Yep.
It was like, yeah, that looked a little too familiar. But it worked.
Won't be the last time you see them reuse. I mean, look at the
Right.
difference between they reuse from the motion picture and then was it Wrath of Khan? The
Yeah.
same shot of the Enterprise leaving um the
Hmm.
dock. It's just a lot shorter in Wrath of Khan,
Yeah. Right.
but it's the exact same scene.
Yeah.
So why
So,
why make new when you can reuse and most people probably wouldn't even
right.
notice.
Well, and I mean, I can see I'm not quite done with this yet, but the making of Star Trek about
Yeah.
the original series. I mean, in that series, I mean, even early in season one, they were already coming up against it with budget issues. So I can only imagine that this is no different. And I mean, I think with season one of Next Gen, they didn't even have a regular network. They were just
Syndicated.
syndication. So they were just send it out there and whoever wants it can take
They
it.
made this show with a hope and a prayer
Yeah.
that'd be good enough that it would just keep going.
Yeah.
And what a
Hmm.
game.
Yeah. And it worked. I mean, it's not like they were taking a gamble on a non-established
Right. But it's
franchise,
still a gamble.
but
I
oh
mean,
yeah, big time gamble, especially when at that point nobody had picked it up. No network had said, "Yeah, we'll do this." So, yeah, it's kind of
it
remarkable.
aired on all different networks, all different days, all different times. Like
Yep.
none of this is consistent.
Yeah. Did that ever change for it? Was it eventually picked up, or did they just follow that model?
I don't know. I don't think so. Um, because I'm pretty sure like DS9, I think was picked up by Fox. I'd have to go look back and look, but I think this stayed in syndication. DS9 was picked up by Fox. But
Wasn't
Voyager was,
Voyager UPN?
yeah, it was the flagship show on UPN because that's when
Yeah.
UPN was just getting started. So you
Yeah.
had two different Star Trek shows that were airing on two different networks,
Yeah.
which caused, some conflicts and things like that. But
Yeah.
I don't know if this ever got picked up for a network or if it just stayed in syndication the whole
Yeah.
time.
Hmm. Yeah. Whatever. It ended up working out. So,
Yeah, we'll take it.
um, all right. Should we move on to the last episode for this week?
Let's do it.
Episode 10, Haven. While on a mission to a planet called Haven, Counselor Troy meets her husband to be, a marriage arranged by her father years before as the Enterprise encounters a ship far deadlier than any combat could provide.
So,
So, I
how do we feel about this episode?
I don't know. Um, like I've got a lot of positive thoughts about the episode in terms of basically the production quality. I made notes again here about the music, and how like
You know, You love the 80s synth.
Really, I not so much that, but they did have there was a lot of 80s synth, but they also had just a lot of really good use of music in this episode. Um, then at times it got a bit overdone, but still like just in comparison to those six tracks, I don't know the exact number, but I'm just going to call it six. The six tracks that they had throughout the entire original series. I mean, it's good use of music. I think overall. Um, there there was again just I think they're getting better at tying these A and B storylines together.
Yep.
Because there was the pending wedding, although they were almost like kind of went on a journey through this one because the one of the first things I wrote was, oh, is this another shore leave episode incoming? And
Right.
because that's what it was being set up as, and then
Honestly,
it
I
was
remembered it as
not
that.
that.
And it
And
wasn't.
it really wasn't that at all. Um, though it was set up that way. But then it was the what's happening with this wedding. There's the tension between Troy and Riker, who she called Bill, which
Yep. Second
that
time.
that seemed weird. She called him
This,
Bill twice in this episode.
okay, so
Um,
so that's then the third time, second,
okay,
third, because she calls him Bill in Encounter at Farpoint as well.
okay, I missed that, but yeah, I wrote, did she call Riker Bill? It's- I don't know. It just seems
And it's so like
odd.
it does not fit, right? There's something about
No,
there instead of the W, like it's so hard.
Will would have fit, but yeah, Bill is
Bill.
just like I don't know. Yet you think so. Just thinking of character names, Bill Dotrieve from King of the Hill. It's a perfect name.
Mhm.
So he's definitely not a Will or a William. So uh, but yeah, it just felt weird. I kind of getting some of that background on Troy. So what is her background? Was it Betazoid?
Yeah. So she is half Betazoid.
Half human.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So Betazoids are from Beta Z.
Yeah. So, um, yeah, a couple things I was thinking of. So, again, is it normal for them to just beam unknown objects on board the ship?
Hey,
Um,
they back in the battle, they beamed the Ferengi right to the goddamn
that's
bridge.
that's
So
true.
yeah,
That's
why
true.
not?
I mean, it just seems like not the. I mean, again, we go back to their security really isn't that good, but it would seem questionable to just beam something that you're saying is unknown. I get if you get something and it's deceiving you, but yeah, they're just like, we don't know what the hell that thing is. Yeah, bring it on board.
Why not?
It's like
Make it.
it's like Dumb and Dumber picking up the hitchhikers. Pick them up.
Yeah.
Uh,
You need to go
but
back and watch that. So long.
um, but oh, what was I even saying? Yeah, overall, then what was it? Almost halfway through the episode, they're just like, "What the heck is that ship coming at sublight speed or sub warp or whatever it was?" And it was the Terralians, and he was just like, "Okay, who the hell are the Terralians?" And then just moments later, after I wrote, "How do these fit in with the story?" It was just like, "It's a plague ship. It's going to turn our paradise into a graveyard." I was like, "Well, there you go."
Yeah.
And then it was the woman in Wyatt's drawings. And yeah, yeah,
I,
I still don't know how I rate this one. I'm
yeah.
think I could go seven, but I feel like it's a six. I feel like it's an okay episode.
So which one are you gonna stick with?
I'm gonna go with six,
Okay.
unless you convince me otherwise.
No, because you and I are in lockstep. I gave it a 6 too. So you and I have rated every episode.
I feel like I would have given this one about a six and a half, but like just under six and a half. So I round down to a six. It just there were good elements, but then there were things that just, I don't know. It just wasn't as good as the other ones we watched.
Yeah,
Um, but it definitely wasn't a bad episode, and
it was not. It's by far not the worst,
there were a
right?
lot of good things in the episode. Um, but then a little bit I got pulled out by seeing what was his name? Mr. Vom or
Mr. Hom.
Mr. Hom. I was like, dang, that looks like Lurch. Did they bring Ruck back? And no, but it was Lurch from the Addams Family movies. And
Before Lurch was Lurch, though. So
yeah,
technically, you should watch
true.
the family movies and say that that's Mr. Hom, not the other
Yeah.
way.
Although, really, though, before the Lurch thought, I was like, was that the guy from Men in Black? And yes, it is. So that's where I kind of went. I was like, that guy looks familiar. I know I've seen him. Um, and then Wyatt, I didn't notice it when he was first on the screen, and then I was looking to see who Mr. Hom was, and saw that Wyatt is played by the guy that was Teddy in Prison Break.
Okay.
So then that was all I could see. Um,
I never
so
watched
then
Prison Break,
then the
so
whole episode, I'm basically waiting to see when he's going to do something terrible. Because Teddy was kind of the one of the escapees who was like not a good guy. Um, Interesting character, but yeah, not the best guy. So yeah, I was just like, so I keep waiting for him to do something and turn bad.
Mhm.
But yeah, yeah, an okay episode. I thought they did a good job having that mystery come in of like, okay, now there's this other ship. I believe that they will tie these together. And then they did very well. So they made it so it wasn't just two completely disparate stories that they were just like, oh yeah, let's find some tiny thread that we can
I
bring together.
I
Um,
still struggled a little bit because before they saw Wyatt, right? They show up and they're like, just give us an island or a peninsula where we can live out our lives. And,
yeah,
obviously the electorine of Haven is like, no, don't like blow them out of the sky.
yeah.
And then they see Wyatt and they go, nah, we good. We're off. Like,
Yeah,
we don't need anywhere to be. We'll just go live our lives somewhere else. Like that was the only part of kind of that B plot that
yeah.
bugged me a little bit. I think otherwise it tied together really well.
They tied it together, but it didn't like it was a little bit of the not now that I think about it more, I like it a little less, so I'm definitely set on my six.
Mhm.
Um, but there's the adage or whatever, like if you show me a gun in the first act, it better come into play in the third act.
Yeah.
But it felt like they had a few of those guns placed throughout this episode, and they all tied back, but it was just like, okay, was that their only to just tie it back to this? And like the only connection was just like, hey, we can connect it here.
Yeah.
Not that it really added to the story, like his pictures and being her, and then oh, that's the lady from my pictures. It's like, okay, cool, but
Why?
where did that come from and why?
Yeah.
And this could have also been connected other ways, I guess. I don't know how. But some of those connections they had, it was like, we know this is how we should write this episode. And we need, if we want to have this connection, we need to present it earlier. And they did that and they did it fine, but there's still something lacking,
Right.
I guess, is kind of the feel.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's an okay kind of connection for the B plot,
yeah.
right?
I mean, it's better than whatever was it Code of Honor that I thought was the terrible B
I,
story.
Code of
I
Honor was
mean,
just a terrible story.
everything in that was terrible.
Remember
But
that being the actual like I have to go let me look at the episode list again. God dang it. Um don't remember, and I can't get there fast enough.
Yeah, it was Code of Honor because that was the vaccine and then the
Oh, that's
fight and
right.
all
I was
that,
like,
and it was so dumb.
so here's
But
how bad that B plot is. I couldn't remember what it was. It's
right.
like, what was the B plot on that episode? Oh yeah, that one.
So clearly they've gotten better, but at the same time it felt forced. Now at the same time, initially watching, oh yeah, that's an interesting reveal, but
Yep.
it, thinking about it for more than about 15 seconds, it's like, okay, but so um
So how do you feel about Lwaxana?
I feel like it's probably good that Abby's not on this call because she loves Majel Barrett, but she's kind of annoying. Um,
Yep.
which I think is kind of the point, kind of the role. She was over the top.
Yep.
She was, which I guess kind of makes sense. I mean, she's coming from, I don't know what she did in the intervening years, but she came up in the older way of acting, and it was a little more like that and felt a bit more original series in the acting. It wasn't bad, but it also seemed to fit the character
Yep.
because the character was this larger than life, overbearing, like character. And I thought she nailed it.
Hmm.
So she did a really good job at being an overbearing, probably borderline annoying character, which is kind of how the character felt.
Yep.
Um, I don't know if I hadn't seen Majel Barrett's name on the opening credits or in the when they're doing the
Guest stars
credits,
and all
yeah,
that.
the guest stars. I don't know if I would have pegged her as that, though I would have said the voice sounded familiar. Definitely did not look familiar. I mean,
Yep. You
change
didn't you
her.
didn't immediately connect her to Nurse Chapel?
No, not at all. Or the original number one.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I thought she did a shoot. Sorry, a pop-up. Uh, she did a really good job and made the character compelling, but it was almost like her acting was on one level of things and it didn't seem to match the tone or the pace of most of the other characters in the episode. So it
Sure.
took me out of it a little bit, but I thought she did a great job. Uh,
I th Oh man. I've been around the block on this character for a while. Um, yeah, she's over the top, like way over the top. It's not even like a little, like, oh, gee, that's a lot. It's I don't know. I'm 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 gonna be. She's like everyone's nightmare mother-in-law, and I say that like because I can. And I'm not going to make you agree with that statement by any stretch of the imagination because I don't think you have that problem.
no,
But um, she's kind of that, right?
yeah.
That overbearing, over the top. Everything's about me. I don't care what anyone else says or thinks or does, whatever.
Hmm.
It's my way or the highway. And I think that is what she is going for, and she achieves. And I
Right.
feel like I was trying to see if I could find anything on it really quick, but I believe she did that rather intentionally. Like it
Oh
wasn't
yeah,
as though she,
it seemed intentional.
yeah. So she was trying to be this overbearing, over the top character, and I think if that's the metric she is trying to hit, she succeeded and then some.
Yeah.
So there's that. Um, I did sort of laugh because something hit me as they were talking about like the traditional Betazoid wedding ceremonies and things like that. And it was, man, Gene Roddenberry must have had a thing for people being naked all the time because the Ferengi don't clothe their females,
Yep.
and the Betazoids do all their wedding ceremonies naked.
Hmm.
Uh, and it's just like it's this. I never caught it before, but it's this theme that just keeps coming up of
Hmm.
like, oh, we have to be naked, or they have to be naked, or somebody's got
Yeah.
to be naked. And it's like, is that a thing for you, or what is that?
Yeah.
Uh, and it's just doubly ironic considering that Majel Barrett is his wife. So
Right.
I don't know.
Oh, excuse me.
You notice that Data told a unit of time correctly in this
Yeah.
episode?
Yep. But then he was going so deep that he was like, "That's good."
Yeah.
Like,
I had to
uh,
back it up to make sure
yeah.
it was actually correct
Yeah.
because I knew you would catch that.
16 hours, 72 minutes, and 84 seconds.
What? Um,
Yeah. No, I heard him say the time. I was like, hey, that was a real
that
number.
would actually made sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I guess I don't have a lot of thoughts. I didn't take many notes on this episode. Um, I did actually, it's ironic. One of my lines is good old in-law problems. Um, so apparently, even as I was watching this, I had that same thought. But Data's pretty funny, you know. Could you please continue the petty bickering? I find it most
Yeah. Yeah. That was good. Um, yeah.
yeah, I like I said, I don't it was, solidly an okay episode. Not great. Um, I think it's an interesting character. I think it's an interesting plot line. I think it does a lot to establish the background of Riker and Troy because we
Hmm.
saw that in the encounter at Farpoint that there's some history there, and it
Yep.
hasn't been touched on a ton since then. And
Yeah,
so now
there's
it's
been just little
yeah,
indications of it, but nothing as overt as this episode.
and now all of a sudden it's she's getting married and Riker's bent out of shape and a little bit of kind of I won't say it's misplaced, but kind of a petulant child in places, like walking out of the conference room in the middle of Picard saying that they're gonna, basically have a groom's dinner that night, right?
Hmm.
And he's just like, I'm out, and just leaves. Um, like I said, I don't think that's necessarily misplaced, but he is kind of sort of childish in his approach to things.
Hmm.
Did you catch who's not in this episode?
No Wesley?
Wesley is in this episode.
Is he?
Oh,
Then apparently not.
I missed this too until I saw the trivia. There is no Worf in this episode.
Hmm. Hmm. No Wesley in this one
Oh,
either.
Wesley's not in this episode. You're right. I see this credit only. Okay. So Wesley's not in
Yeah.
this, but neither is Worf.
Hmm.
Well, that trivia is not nearly comprehensive enough. You are right. Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's kind of a fun, over the top type episode. It's not super deep in anything it does, but it's interesting from a character development standpoint. And
Well, yeah, I think it's interesting there for Troy because to this point it's been a little bit like, oh, so now we've got telepathy.
yeah,
Okay, where did that come from? But they
right,
never really explained where she was from, or if she was just some change to humanity,
right.
um, with black eyes and the ability to read minds. So getting more of that background is good because it's like, okay, I guess I didn't even have that full realization that she was, I guess, alien or half
So,
alien. So, I mean,
an interest.
Spock, you knew right away is half alien. Um,
Yep.
and she did have the visual difference with the black eyes and all of that, which
Which
was
Barrett had as
another
well.
thing. Yeah, which was another thing that was like kind of making her not seem, making her that much further away from Nurse Chapel. Um, but yeah,
Here's the interesting part because you talk about that and getting so far into this before they kind of establish what's going on. One of the pieces of trivia that I'm reading was so this is episode 11.
mhm.
Um, it was filmed as the third episode.
Hmm.
So that could explain kind of the disjointedness of it a little bit. Of
Yeah,
that was a plot line that should have been explained a lot earlier in the series and didn't
right.
because for whatever reason it was pushed out to the 11th episode.
Now, I don't think that means it doesn't work. It's just I like that they have those things that they can reveal. And if they did try
Yeah,
to do a bunch of these knowledge dumps or whatever too early on, people
they
may
get
not buy. Yeah, they may get lost in it, or people may just not buy into it. It's just like, okay, just tell us a damn story. You don't have to build everything out. But over time, we want to get that information, get that coming out. And so I think the pacing of it in terms of the series, it works well because it's just like, okay, so there's something different here. What's going on?
yep.
Oh yeah, I don't need that answer right now because there's this story going on. And then it's a pleasant surprise to get that background or get that story.
And
Just
I
like
think
seeing some of Picard's background with the Stargazer.
yeah.
And even then there's still big gaps from when that ship disappeared and when he took command of the Enterprise.
Mhm.
So, but so I like that way of just like not doing all this exposition automatically and just reveal this information over time. Let it kind of develop naturally. I mean, you meet somebody, you meet somebody at work and you don't hear their entire backstory on day one.
Right.
So I think in that regard it works. And a good time to say like, oh yeah, let's have an episode that kind of focuses on her and gives some of that background now, especially after an episode she wasn't in. Um,
And I think to a certain extent, a lot of good shows that are, I'll call them long running,
mhm.
use that first season to build out the characters, right?
Yep.
And you don't want to do that in 3 episodes.
No.
You want to do that in what is season one, 26 episodes, 20 25
You want to
episodes.
give people just enough that they keep coming back.
Yeah. Yeah, don't give it all up front. Just string it out. So week over week, they're coming back like they want to hear the next thing.
Yep.
And so I think this is a really good example of they spend effectively 25 hours, a little less than that because of commercials and things, but
Hmm.
25 hours fleshing out the stories of what do we say,
Nine
nine
people.
main characters.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's I think it's a pretty cool approach, right? So
Yeah.
this was a Troy episode. This was the episode where we got to learn more about her. She's been a
Hmm.
mystery up until this point. You get little things, but now we're gonna really dial in and focus on her. Last
Yep.
episode was a Riker episode.
And
That
with
was a
that,
Picard episode,
but
right?
with that, we get more information about Riker too, because of how they tie together. So I would actually go back to when I started the original series. I would say that is I stand by saying it was like House in the episodic nature of it. There was less of the episode to episode character development overall, but I think we're seeing more of that in Next Gen because all of
Mhm.
these episodes are standalone, more or less.
Yep.
Um, but they do have that little bit of development in each one that seems to carry on. The relationship that was alluded to in Encounter at Farpoint makes an appearance again. Another callback to Encounter at Farpoint that we've seen now in 2 episodes this
Yep.
week. Still doesn't fully explain it, doesn't flesh out that relationship, but gives a little more. I don't want to say clarity because I don't think there's any clarity to what that relationship is at this point, but it gives
No,
a little more definition to it,
you
maybe.
just know that it's there, right?
Yep, you
There's
know
some.
it's there. There's something there. There's something, but the way they're telling the story in the grand scheme of it, you see there's something there, and then you think they'll get to it someday.
Yep.
Maybe they do, maybe they will, maybe they won't. But there's kind of that feel of like, okay, we're going to learn more about these characters as we go, and see them grow and change over time, and see what it is that they want and their desires, and Riker wanting to command a starship,
Yep.
um, and that being his ultimate goal or whatever. Um, so yeah, plenty of stuff in this episode that worked, plenty that was just like, eh,
Well, yeah.
could take it or leave it. Um,
Not.
I was fairly intrigued, fairly captivated by the story. Um, got a little taken out of it by being like, oh, is that who I think that is? And then seeing like, oh, that's who that is. And
Few times.
then I can't unsee the guy from Prison Break.
Yep.
So um but yeah, it's interesting. I recalled hearing that Majel Barrett came back as somebody and then made that connection as soon as we heard that name or whatever, and seeing
Right.
her on there. So yeah, that was interesting to see. I mean, it's not unheard of to have people play different roles in the franchise.
Well, look at the actor that plays Sarek, also played
Yep,
Orion in
yep,
Bounty Hunter. So,
yep. So,
actually, there's another one in this episode if you can catch it. There might be more than one, but I'm thinking of a specific one.
hmm.
And if you haven't looked at the trivia yet, you might not.
Yeah, I don't know.
So it's an obscure one,
Hmm.
but the gift box that they beam on board the Enterprise at the beginning
Yeah.
has the face that talks.
Hmm.
That actor is Armin Shimerman, who also played the Ferengi at the
Mm.
Last Outpost,
Mm.
and later goes on to be a main character in a different TV show, Star Trek TV show. But
Hmm.
that's twice now we've seen him in 11 episodes.
Yeah. Hmm.
That's pretty obscure because he sounds different, obviously looks
Looks
different.
different. Yep.
But yeah, we're reusing some characters and or some actors, and
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I'm looking to the trivia. I don't. So this is the second and last episode in which Commander Riker is referred to as Bill. I was wrong. I thought it was Encounter at Fairpoint. Farpoint. It was actually the Naked Now where they called him
Hmm.
Bill. So we'll never hear that again.
That's fine.
Yeah, I'm okay with that too. Let's see.
Seeing that other than Code of Honor, this is the only episode where Worf does not appear.
Yep. There's a lot of trivia around Worf that I don't want to necessarily spoil anything, but it's kind of interesting. Um, trying to look at what other things. There was an explanation for why Wes and Worf weren't on it, but they cut it due to pacing.
Hmm. Oh, another actor coming back in a different role. Um, Shoot, I lost it. Uh, Wyatt's dad
Yep.
was the Federation president in Star Trek
Oh,
4.
yeah, he was, wasn't he? God, I thought he looked familiar when I was watching it, and I just figured I'd watched him in something random.
Yeah,
But
I
you're
thought he looked familiar too. Yeah, and it was that we just watched him in that a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Well, that's cool.
Yeah, let me see if there was anything else I recognize him from. Oh, yeah, you recognized him from that one episode of Murder, She Wrote.
Hey, don't knock Murder, She Wrote. Great show. I haven't watched it in 30 years, but great show.
Yeah, then he was in stuff back in the 50s and 60s and going way back. Stuff I've never seen. So, yeah, he had that just kind of familiar look, but it must have been that we had just seen him in Star Trek 4 fairly recently.
For sure.
Um, but yeah, I don't really have too much more on this. Oh, um, one thing I will say I kind of miss so far in Next Gen from the original series is we don't get so much of the bridge debrief at the end of the episodes. Um,
Yeah, the
now in part it's because there's not three main characters to kind of bounce off of each other. Um, but and yeah, my question there is I wonder if this is just kind of a downside of being such a strong ensemble
it,
that
it
it wouldn't really fit to just have one basically one or two people talking with Picard at the end. And if they switched it up every week, that might feel weird too. So just kind of not do that. But that was one of the highlights of the original series and something that maybe I'm missing it, but doesn't feel like it's really there
it
now. There
it's
is
it's
a
funny you
tiny bit.
mention that because I had the same thought. Like I sort
Mhm.
of missed the little 30-second to a minute kind of thing at the end where they make some funny comments to wrap up the
Yeah.
episode and away you go. Or in the case of like was it the menagerie where you get that very like sad ending or City on the
Hmm.
Edge of Forever where it's just like there's this very powerful ending
Hmm.
and we haven't really seen that yet
Yeah.
in this show. Not that the endings have been bad, it's just a very different tone and structure
It
and
is.
I do miss that to an
Yep.
extent.
So
I can't really
that's
look forward to that last scene.
That's one thing that I noticed, and is probably just the culmination, nothing specific to Haven, but just kind of the culmination of the 10 episodes we've watched so far, kind of
Yeah.
feeling like, okay, that's something that feels different that I don't know how they could do it in this show, but was something that was very good and very positive in the original.
So we should watch that going forward to see if they kind of settle into their
Mhm.
own kind of routine of ending an episode. Because I
Yeah.
don't know if they do or not. I can't consciously remember enough of the episodes. Um, I know some of like the DS9 episodes end in very like powerful and dramatic fashion. That might kind of check that box for us, but with next gen, I don't know if it does or doesn't. So it'd be interesting to dig into that
Yeah.
more.
I mean, so these three episodes look at the battle, kind of ends
Ends on the
Picard
Stargate.
asking what?
Yep. It ends on the Star.
Picard, yeah, Picard asking where's Bach? Riker removed from command, sir, placed under guard for his act of personal vengeance. Seems there was no profit in it. Picard, in revenge there never is. Let the dead rest and the past remain the past. Enterprise, lock on, beam me home, Riker. So I mean, there's like basically maybe two lines of dialogue, but not the same. It's not 30
Right.
seconds of banter. And
Yep.
then the hide and Q um, data. So they're kind of just as it's going, Q screams and disappears, and then um, Picard extraordinary. LaForge, Captain, we're showing the same hole in time again. Our instruments say we've now beamed back from our rescue mission. Data, sir, how is it the Q can handle time and space so well and us so badly? Picard, perhaps someday we will discover that space and time are simpler than the human equation. No coordinates laid in, number one. Riker, yes, sir, you have my coordinates. LaForge, Forge, aye, sir, on board. On the board, Picard, engage. So it's just like, let's have half a deep thought and then let's go.
Yep.
Um,
We're done. Let's get out of
and
here.
then even this even Haven. Picard, take us out of here, Mr. Riker. Riker, aye, sir, warp 2 helm, heading 57 Mark 319. Picard, our destiny is elsewhere, but I'm happy that yours is here with us, counselor. LaForge, warp 2, heading 57 Mark 319. Riker, engage. It just
It's kind of half
if
of a
if they
thought.
have it, they've got like half a thought, and then they just rush like, all right, yeah, here's just like here's a fortune cookie, and I get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
Um, so that maybe that's something that'll develop over time, or like I said, maybe it's just that that's not how these stories work out, and they're not so conducive to sit here at the end and shoot the shit for 30 seconds to
Yep.
wrap it up and then say, all right, Helm, warp factor two, or whatever Kirk would
Yeah.
say.
I want,
Um,
I want to
I
keep,
did, I did really like though. Our destiny is elsewhere. I thought that was cool.
yeah, that is cool. I want to track this because I want to know if it gets better. If
Yeah,
this is just an early episode thing where they haven't hit their stride, or if this is just a difference between next gen and
yeah,
the original series, and how does that change as we get into the later shows, right?
hmm
DS9, Voyager, Enterprise. We have a long ways to go.
yeah.
But you get the idea, right?
And maybe it's that. So trying to think through why that might be. So in the original series, there was more conflict between the crew. There was
Yep.
always this antagonism between Spock and Bones. So far, I don't think we're really seeing that very much, other than them telling Wesley to go away.
Yep.
Um, but I mean, it's not like you've got Picard in the middle and then Riker on one side and Troy on the other, like arguing with each other, and Picard sitting back and just laughing about it,
Right.
which was, I think, a lot of what made those scenes so good was that there was that antagonism that was being addressed or brought out. And that's just, this is maybe a more cohesive group, maybe, or they just haven't established any of that intra-crew conflict
It's
that
interesting
that
though,
we
too.
might have seen.
Gene Roddenberry was very adamant about lack of conflict, right? He leaned really hard onto the kind of the utopia view of the Federation, and petty conflicts and things like that were a thing of the past. So you raise an interesting point because there certainly were their fair share of petty conflicts in the original series, but we don't see that here as
Yeah.
much. So why is there that difference if that was always his
Yeah.
message?
Well, and two, where that's then maybe a challenge for the series is if there's no conflict, there's no show. There's
Yeah.
nothing
Exactly.
entertaining about lack of conflict.
Well, and how realistic is it, even in a utopian society, to not have conflict over something?
Right.
Like maybe
So,
conflict, the bloodshed, but you're still gonna get in a disagreement with something over,
yeah. And
you
now,
know,
again, I'm not saying that that's anything wrong with the way the next
oh,
gen crew or anything is,
no,
because the crew, it all seems to work really well. But without that conflict, and conflict is maybe too strong a word, but without that antagonism, I think, between Spock and Bones with Kirk in the middle,
yeah,
um, it's like if you have an angel on one shoulder and an angel on the other shoulder telling you the same thing, Well, that's not interesting. So why there's nothing to include because there's nothing that adds to the episode. Um, so maybe that will change over time, maybe not, and maybe it's not a big deal, but that was just something I had a thought of, that was such a fun part of the original series that just isn't there, and it's maybe just the different nature of the crew, the storytelling, whatever, but just something I noted in this episode.
I think it's a great call out. Like it's just interesting, right?
Yeah, but
So
yeah, that's about all I got.
that's all I got too.
Well, there you go. I know I'm being pedantic. Of course, I understand what people mean when they say something about the Sirius solar system, or whatever star name, and my commentary is to be deliberately nitpicky. I guess that probably makes it not so much wrong as just imprecise. And we've seen that throughout Star Trek. There are elements where being overly precise or accurate actually take away from the experience. If we saw the Enterprise fly by on the screen in absolute silence, it would feel off. So I'm probably just being petty, and I'll give the benefit of the doubt that it's a design choice and not a mistake. But it makes me laugh, so I'll stick with it. But I can't be the only one who's had this thought, right? I asked ChatGPT if I was being too nitpicky and got the response, yes, it is nitpicky, but the right kind. The kind that means you're paying attention and enjoying the genre at full resolution. I'll take it. I don't have too much more to add to our conversation, so we'll keep this outro short. If you're watching along with us, next time we will discuss 11001001, Too Short a Season, and When the Bow Breaks. As always, I want to thank you for spending your time listening to our conversations about Star Trek. If you enjoy what we're doing, please do us a favor and share with a friend. Also, leave us a rating and a review on your favorite podcast app. You can find us on X at Baldly Go Podcast and To Baldly Go Podcast on Facebook. You can also find me at aaronemery.net. For Nate, this is Aaron reminding you to never give up, never surrender. Here's a fortune cookie, and now get the hell out of here.